And we are back with author and Alabama State Auditor Jim Zeigler. Jim, I want to talk about your book, Blocking the I-10 Toll Scheme, A Successful Citizen Movement. What made you decide to write the book?
When we got essentially through and we had blocked the Montgomery program, the ALDOT program for the toll bridge in 2019, it occurred to me that other citizens who had an issue with their city government, their county government, or the state government, or the federal government could learn a lot of lessons about what we did right and what we did wrong in our 3.5-month campaign that was a success. This was a project, when we first started, people in Montgomery would tell me, "You're wasting your time. This is a done deal. There's nothing you can do. They're going to ram it through." And fortunately, I did not listen to that, and neither did our 50,000 plus citizen activists listen to that. And I thought it would be a good example of how the good guys can win and how to do it.
Now, we've talked about it. I mean, there's been talk about a new bridge on I-10 for a long time. But what were the first rumblings within the Capitol regarding a new bridge that made you first realize, oh, this isn't going to be good?
That's an interesting question, because right at first in 2018 and early 19, I thought, well, we need to fix the Bayway. And we might need a new basic bridge over the Mobile River. Not the whole Bayway, it works, but just to go around those tunnels or go over those tunnels, as the case may be. And so I was feeling good about it. But ALDOT came down and held some public hearings, and they began to give more details on it. And the more we learned, the more concerned that I got.
So what exactly was the plan that the Alabama Department of Transportation eventually came out with, and why do you think so many people had such a visceral negative reaction to what that plan was?
The idea that outside investors, called a P3 partnership, which stands for public-private partnership, would essentially be given a lease on this major portion of an interstate highway. I-10 is the 4th longest interstate highway in the United States, and it goes 4,000 miles from Jacksonville, Florida to Santa Monica, California. This would have affected millions of people a year. And the very idea that you're going to give some outside billionaires a lease on I-10, wow, that people just said, I don't care if the toll is $1, I'm against it.
How did the need for a bridge morph into the need for a toll bridge?
That bridge could have been built, it could have already been built with Go Mesa, which is the Gulf of Mexico energy money, with the BP settlement money, with federal grants, with the new gas tax that the legislature in their wisdom put on the state of Alabama in 2019, 10 cents a gallon additional. You could have taken a portion of that and bonded it and built this bridge already. But they got infatuated with the idea of bringing in these billionaire toll partners, and you could get all this money and never have to vote for a tax increase. So it was just somebody's good idea of the year, and it was a very bad idea.
Is there a reason that the Wallace Tunnel or the Bankhead Tunnel may need to eventually be demolished and replaced? I mean, I know there's been talk about, because I guess concern about getting bigger ships in the channel, maybe? I don't know.
There has been talk about that, and we do not know the answer to that. I have asked that several times, and right this minute, there are no plans to scrape the bottom of the Mobile River and do away with the Bankhead Tunnel. That's the old tunnel, or the new Wallace I-10 tunnel. There's no plans to do that right now. But as they age, and Bankhead Tunnel's now it's older than I am. It's pretty old. Eventually, they will get to the point where the maintenance cost will be excessive. So that's why I'm thinking that somebody is coming with a new I-10 Bayway plan, and we're told that that's coming sooner rather than later.
And I want to talk about that in a little bit, but first I want to talk a little bit more about these PP3s that you talked about, the public-private partnerships. Why do you think state and federal governments have tried to transition to this PP3 program and tolls to fund our infrastructure needs? I mean, is it that we just can't afford these things anymore, or is it because of the whole insider aspect of it? Or, I mean, it seems like there are other ways to pay for these things sometimes, no?
I give a real good analysis of that in my book. And basically, it's that this is a rediscovered, the toll tax, as our members called it. That's a good term, toll tax, is a rediscovered, newly engineered way to get extra money, and I'm talking about billions that can be controlled, so that the government all of a sudden is substantially larger, because in addition to tax revenue, which has been the main government source, you've also got toll tax revenue of billions.
You know, I guess one of the bigger aspects of this, not just that you were able to accomplish, blocking it at least the first time, I guess one of the silver linings in all this is that this was a literal civics lesson for many of us normal citizens who've never been this involved or vocal in a political process. Was there something about this that has given you some encouragement, something about the way people responded and got on board?
Yes, there was. If there's an issue that people can see is going to hit them in the pocketbook, or their substantial rights being taken away, you can get them involved. And then you have to figure out, how can the thing actually be blocked? Now, just putting up posts on Facebook or writing letters to the editor or calling your mayor, that raises awareness. But who's going to block the thing if it gets blocked?
Who's going to act?
That's right. And it's called an end game. And we finally got an end game when we found out that the Eastern Shore Metropolitan Planning Organization, the ESMPO in Baldwin County, and the MPO, the Mobile Planning Organization, would have to vote on this thing. And we got the list of them, and we divided our people up so that only those in that particular member's district were emailing them and calling them and going to see them. This idea that everybody calls everybody, you're calling officials that you don't vote for.
Well, you don't have standing. Now, and from what I understand, this wasn't just a Republican or Democrat thing. There were people on both sides. This was purely bipartisan. I mean, the people who got involved, there were people on both sides who got involved on this, correct?
Absolutely.
So are there lessons on bipartisanship that we can glean from this as well?
I think so. If an issue affects everybody, say it hits everybody in the pocketbook, it doesn't matter if they vote Democrat, Republican, if they consider themselves an independent, and we had all of the above in a group. And the very few times that somebody would post up something, it's a funny thing. So probably the majority of our members were Republicans, but every once in a while, one of them would post up that, we're blaming the Democrats and Nancy Pelosi for this. Well, they had nothing to do. This was Kay Ivey, the Republican governor in Alabama, and so we quickly corrected that. We're bipartisan in our criticism.
Now, it's a new year, and I believe there are some deadlines if Alabama's going to take advantage of some those federal grants. Is that right?
That's right. Now, it's a year from September, which will be September of 22, we will lose $125,000 grant if substantial progress hasn't been made on an I-10 bridge over Mobile Bay, and it can be done.
Now, so you were alluding to it earlier. There appears to be another plan being submitted for the I-10 bridge coming up, correct?
That's right. We've gotten a number of reports from Baldwin County mostly, and from Mobile County and from Montgomery, that they're coming forward sooner rather than later with a new plan.
So it could be as bad as the one before, or it could be substantially improved. It could be something that's everybody wants, right? We don't know what it's going to be.
So when we get the plan, we've already been putting together some of our leaders who will divide it up and read it and do something that congressmen sometimes don't do, read the measure and analyze it.
Now, is there concern that they may try to drop this out at the last second so that there isn't enough time for you all to do that?
Surely not. Surely not the leaders in Montgomery that we've had.
I'm already sensing sarcasm, Jim. How can our viewers get your book, Blocking the I-10 Toll Scheme, A Successful Citizen Movement? How can our viewers get your book?
Go on Block the Tolls, Support Accountability. On the right-hand side of the Facebook page, you'll see the link for the free copy of the book. Well, now, if somebody wants a printed copy, the printer wants to be paid. Naturally, he's in business, and they can go to the publisher, lulu.com. That's LULU.com. And somebody made a joke saying, yes, a lulu of a book you've written. And that's one of the nicer things it's been called in Montgomery.
Well, I certainly appreciate you being on the show, Jim. Ladies and gentlemen, Alabama State Auditor and author and leader of the Block the Toll movement in Alabama, Jim Zeigler. Thanks for being on, Jim.
Thank you, David J.